Welcome back to the live desk. Today I am joined by Austin Shively, who is the assistant speech and debate coach at Shawnee Mission East High School. Austin, thank you for joining me today.
Yes, thanks for having me.
So, could you tell me a little bit about what you do as the assistant speech and debate coach?
Yeah, so my main roles and responsibility kind of are just assisting the students. We have debate happens in the first semester of the school year. So that fall semester in Kansas, we focus primarily on policy debate. And then once we shift over to that spring semester, we're focusing on the speech events, which are more like persuasive speaking, as well as some acting events. And then there are also debate events included in there as well.
Austin, thank you. So, could you walk me up to the day leading up to the incident at the recent tournament in Des Moines?
Yeah, so it was the Thursday of our week. The Nationals happens from Monday to Friday, a week-long tournament. And that Thursday, Friday primarily are like the final rounds of all of the events. That those Thursday events are primarily the acting events, as well as a couple of the speaking ones. And then Friday moves into more of the debate. But Thursday, we were attending as a squad those final rounds, and it's probably one of the best days of nationals, in my opinion, just because you get to see the best of the best perform on the big stage under all the lights. There's thousands and thousands of people all in this ballroom together, watching people perform their pieces. So it's usually a really fun day. My favorite day of nationals in all the years that I've been. Everyone looks forward to that Thursday. So we got up pretty early to save some seats because it is pretty competitive to try and get seats in that ballroom. And we headed over to the convention center. And after that, we got our seats. We made it through the first round of informative speaking. And then after that, it moved into the round of humorous interpretation finals. And that's when the incident occurred. So how that went, there's six people in each of the final rounds. We made it through about five of them. And after that fifth performer, the MC came on to announce the sixth speaker. And she was coming onto the stage to perform her piece. At about the same time, a unknown individual came onto the stage, and everyone was a little bit confused. He was just standing in the middle of the stage, and we were like, this something seems odd because he was obviously not the performer at the time. Once everyone saw him on stage, everyone was kind of scrunching their eyebrows a little bit, looking around. He came onto the stage, and it was kind of hard to hear because he wasn't mic'd up. So he didn't have a mic, and we were about halfway back in the middle section. So we had a pretty good view. But he got on stage. The first thing I remember him saying was, "Do you want to hear a knock knock joke?" And it's sometimes it's a pretty interactive little ballroom, I would say. So like some people did respond with yes, because during the performances, people are laughing, people are crying, people are having all sorts of emotions. So some people responded to him, and everyone was still a little confused. After that, and he had a backpack with him. It looked like a little plastic bag as well. It was a very dramatic set down of the bag and that he had. And I think that's what got a lot of people concerned. And then he kind of started moving around a little bit. People started whispering, and then everyone just heard the word run. And after that, that was kind of when the mad dash started of these, I think there were probably 4,000 people in the ballroom at the time. And everyone just started sprinting, kind of like it was a active shooter situation. People were jumping into bathrooms, people were running outside. People were ducking under chairs. Everyone was leaving their stuff behind. There were backpacks, wallets, keys, shoes, anything you can imagine was left on these chairs, under the chairs. It was kind of drop everything and run type of situation. So my group specifically, we had probably, because our whole squad wasn't there, half of them were at a different location finishing up their events, and grabbing lunch. But I had a group of about probably 14 with me. It was me, our head coach, a couple other of our assistants, and then we had probably about 10 students with us. And we all got split up in the incident. I also had my grandparents with me and my partner. So my grandparents, my partner, and a few of my students bolted out the left side of the auditorium, kind of through this back um, exit. A couple of our students ran into the bathroom in the event center, and then I think the other ones ran out the other right side of the door because that was the closest door to them. After we had gotten outside, there was lots of screaming. It was all very chaotic, just because some people had left their phones inside. We were trying to contact all the people that we had. The exit that we took outside was so it was that back entrance kind of by a garage door. We were right next to a person that was on the phone with 911. And again, everyone kind of thought it was some sort of active shooter situation. So that's kind of what they were communicating to the police. Took about maybe a minute and a half by the time we got outside, and we saw a couple cop cars speeding down this back entrance. They quickly got out of their car, ran inside, and then only about a minute after they had gone inside, they came back out with the individual who was on stage. After we saw him in handcuffs, because we were still trying to find all of our students, some of them were on the other side of the building. I had a few students with me from other schools who recognized me, and all of the students were very, very scared. They were like, "You're from Kansas, right? You're from Kansas." I'm like, "Yeah, like I know you. I've judged you in a couple rounds. I know your coach." And she was like, "I don't know where my squad was. I got separated from them." And I was like, "Okay, just hang with us. We'll find them." The police had been saying like the man had been taken care of. So we tried to grab a few of our bags that had been left behind in our row that we had been sitting because we knew it was going to kind of be a mess getting everyone their stuff back. So me, those two girls, and my partner, my grandparents, we scooped up all the bags we could, headed out to the meeting point because I got a hold of the head coach at that point, and they had said they were standing on the corner of the street a couple blocks away, kind of by the parking lot. That then became our meeting point and the meeting point for a lot of other squads and schools. And then we slowly um, got everyone back together, stood outside for probably, I don't know, maybe an hour or so before we were allowed to start slowly going back into claim lost items. A lot of people didn't want to go back in, understandably so. So I went back in to grab the few things remaining from the lost and found that we needed, and then we all headed back to the hotel, and they canceled the rest of the events for the day. It was kind of the summation of those incidents.
Austin, thank you so much for walking me through that day. I can't imagine how incredibly scary that must have been. So, what were your emotions like moments after the incident and in the hours after the incident? I know you were in charge of a whole group of students, so you had a lot of responsibility while trying to navigate the incident as well.
Yeah, so right when it was first happening, I think everyone was kind of in the state of confusion of kind of what's going on. And then in those types of situations, there is that tipping point of, okay, now this is a threat, and everyone kind of flips over to that panic mode. I tried to stay as calm as I possibly could because I couldn't really figure out what was going on. Didn't know if it was an active shooter situation, him having a bag. Some people thought there could have been some sort of explosive device. So my first instinct was to grab as many kids as I could, and we kind of created a chain link with our arms, sprinted out the door, and I kept looking back over my shoulder just to make sure the other half of the kids, because we kind of split in two directions because those were the closest entrances based off of where we were sitting. Kind of kept looking back over my shoulder just to make sure everyone was getting out, and they were. So a lot was going through my head. I was just trying to go through the list of my kids in my head, making sure, okay, these people ran this way. I have these people with me. I know these two are in the bathroom, kind of trying to pinpoint where everyone is. Started calling the people, some of my students where I didn't know. I was like, hey, where are you at? A couple of them had said, we're with the head coach. I was like, okay, great. I'll call you back in a little bit. Just kind of kept going down the list to make sure that everyone had been accounted for. But I would say the general emotion that a lot of people were feeling was very frightened, very uncertain. And I think a lot of that comes from I've been doing this, I've been coaching for probably 5+ years now. I started back as a competitor my freshman year of high school in 2014. So it's been 11+ years of this activity, and these speech and debate tournaments, the nationals, regular season tournaments are some of the safest places, because it's such a fantastic community. We're talking about a community where people leave their bags at their lunch table while they go perform their rounds or perform their pieces. No one ever messes with your stuff. These are the types of events where a stranger from a different state soon becomes your best friend for the week. It's a very happy, very positive, very uplifting community. And it's a platform for a lot of students to use their voice. And it's a home for a lot of students as well, because a lot of people can find a home in the speech and debate community because of how accepting it is. So this being the first very scary, frightening experience in this type of setting, a lot of people were in shock. A lot of people didn't know how to handle it, and I think it was how unexpected all of it was that really had a lot of people scared. But I know it was a very traumatizing experience for a lot of the people involved, and I think it's going to be something that everyone involved will remember for a very, very long time to come.
Austin, thank you again for walking me through that, and I'm so glad that everyone at the event was safe. So, how have you been doing in the days after the event?
Yeah, I've been doing well. It was very warming to know that all of my students and everyone at the event was okay, as I guess physically. I can't speak for how everyone's okay doing, how everyone's doing emotionally or mentally. Um, Still a little shaken up, obviously, after going through something like that. That wasn't my first time in that type of situation. I had a similar instance one time or one summer when I was in Chicago. And I think that also kind of helped me be a little bit more prepared for that as far as the mad dash of people, because a lot of times in those situations, it's the everyone running and the trampling that can cause a lot more harm than the individual who was perceived as the threat. So it was it was a lot, but we're home safe. Very happy to be home back in Kansas City, and ready to enjoy the rest of the summer for sure.
Thank you. What do you want Kansas City community members to know about this incident and your experience along with your students?
Yeah, I think the main thing I would say is, again, speech and debate being one of the best communities I've ever been a part of. Um, Things like this or incidents like this shouldn't be happening. And in my personal opinion, I think it's a testament to the current climate of this country, unfortunately. And even though there were no weapons found in his bag, were no explosives, were no threatening objects, um, I think the fear that sits inside of everyone comes from a place of, um, well, I guess it's just unfortunate that we have to live in that kind of fear with the school shootings that have been happening, or just public events where stuff like this happens. And I feel like it breaks my heart to know that this has kind of become a norm in around the United States. Instances like this of people being scared or individuals threatening other individuals. So, what I would say to Kansas City is just, I think the most important thing in today and age is to love one another and take care of each other. I don't think hate has any place in this world anymore. And I think the more actively we can take care of each other, support one another, and build those positive communities like the speech and debate community, um, I think it's going to make the world a much, much better place. And the speech and debate tournament, this national tournament specifically, each year is the largest academic competition in the entire world. We have people from all 50 states, several other countries that are usually involved, and I think these kids specifically in this community are the future of tomorrow. They're the advocates, they're the ones fighting for what they believe is right. And I think if everyone could kind of model how they approach life off of some of these students or even listen to some of their speeches, they have very important things to say and very important messages that I think a lot of people could take stuff away from.
Austin, thank you so much for sitting down with me this afternoon on the live desk. I really appreciate you walking me through the incident. I know it was a really scary time, and so I just appreciate you speaking out on your experience so we can share it with the community. Thank you so much.